Good evening, Bhante and all Kalyanamita Namo Buddhaya and Sukhi Hontu. I'm Aliana and welcome to Ti-Ratana Vihara Friday Sutta discussion by Bhante Dr. Ganggodawila Chandima. Today is the day 155 of this series of Sutta discussion, the seventh class of SatipaṭṭhānaSutta with topic Navasivathikapabba, or section on the 9 contemplation on the body's return to the nature. This is the exercise number 6 in Satipatthana practice. Satipatthana Sutta is the 15th sutta that has been chosen by Bhante Chandima for this sutta discussion. In previous classes, Bhante has discussed about Mangala Sutta, Ratana Sutta, Metta Sutta, Sigalowada Sutta, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, Sabbasawa Sutta, Pattakama Sutta, Pattamāsamajīvi Sutta, Alawaka Sutta, Dajaga Sutta, Girimananda Sutta, Pattamāsamajīvi Sutta, Alawaka Sutta, Dajaga Sutta, Chulakama Vivanga Sutta, Chunda Sutta, Digajanu Sutta, which Bhante has elaborated those sutta in there. For those who have missed our previous classes, please check on Ti-Ratana Vihara Aman Padana Klang YouTube channel. We have uploaded the previous classes there. We are always welcoming newcomers, therefore please share around about this class to other friends and family members so that whoever that wish to join the class via Zoom, where we can engage directly with Bhante, can contact the Vihara administrator. Or you can join the class from Ti-Ratana Vihara Facebook channel, where we broadcast the Sutta class live on every Friday evening from 8:30 p.m. till 10 p.m. Kuala Lumpur time. Now let me introduce to you about our speaker, Bhante Dr. Ganggodawila Chandima, who is the Associate Editor of the Journal of International Buddhist Studies, or JIBS, which is published by the Buddhist Research Institute of Mahachulalongkorn Raja Vidyalaya University in Thailand. Bhante was previously a research fellow at the Center for Studies in Religion and Society, or CSRS, at University of Victoria, Canada. Bhante Dr. Chandima was also Theravada Buddhist chaplain at the University of British Columbia, Vancouver, in Canada from year 2012 till 2016. Recently, Bhante Chandima has joined the Ateneo de Manila University in Philippines as Assistant Professor of Buddhist Philosophy. Bhante is also the Senior Advisor to Patisota, a virtual Dhamma organization that hosts a weekly online Pali reading class, sutta discussion, Dhamma talks, and a variety of other Dhamma activities. His Dhamma works can be accessed at www.patisota.blogspot.com, and we can also follow Bhante at Patisota Facebook account. Without further ado, we welcome once again Bhante, and as always, thank you very much for the wonderful guidance and teaching. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Ariana, for that introduction. Good evening, Dhamma friends. Welcome back to Friday TRU Sutta discussion. Let us get started by paying respect to the Buddha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Once again, good evening, Dhamma friends. Today we are going to finish the Kayanupassana exercises with the sixth exercise, which is the sixth exercise in the Kayanupassana practices, Satipatthana practices, and also the sixth exercise, Satipatthana exercise in the Satipatthana Sutta. You may see that the note is a bit longer. It is because we need to understand the way how each of the what you call contemplations need to be practiced. Other than that, it is the same thing. Okay, so before we get to the discussion, I wanted to say that today is, as Aliana mentioned, day 155. And we are going to discuss about Navasivathikapabba. Okay. Nava means
9.
9, number 9, right? And Siva means
Channel ground.
symmetry, right? In today's world,
Cemetery.
symmetry. And Tika means the place. That means the place where the dead bodies were placed or maybe thrown during the Buddha's time. Do we find these kinds of cemeteries where people just go and throw dead bodies in today's world?
Formerly vultures speak.
In India?
Yes.
Okay. But that is not a very usual sight for all of us, right? Nowadays, there are certain procedures, especially at the time of at the moment of the death. There are certain things that must be done, right? Otherwise, it could lead to even a murder, right? That means definitely when someone passed away, there are certain things that are required to fulfill, and there is a process. And when the process is kind of being done, and at that point, the body could be sent to a hospital or maybe a funeral house, and then the rest of the activities will be done, and then it will be ready for maybe, and then finally, depending on the religious rites, the body will be either buried or cremated. So this is the process that we know now. But this was not the usual process during the Buddha's time. I want you to understand that when we learn the Dhamma, we need to understand the 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 conditions and the background upon which the suttas were given. Otherwise, you will compare everything of the Buddha's time to today's life. That might not work all the time. It can work, but it might not work all the time, because if we believe the concept of anicca, changes, then we have gone through a lot of changes in the evolution, right? Now think about in the previous sutta study, we discussed about what did we discuss last Friday? What was the topic?
Dhatu Manasikara Pabba.
Dhatu Manasikara Papa. In that section, the Buddha cited an example. The example was about a butcher, right? How a butcher is going to cut a cow's body, right? Nowadays, we might see this can be understood from different backgrounds. Perhaps this might not be a good example for us in today's world to discuss about Dhatu Manasikara, right? We don't want to get into a butcher and then how the butcher cuts cow's body into pieces. I don't think we might go to that extent, right? But why did the Buddha pick up a butcher's case? Because at that time, people very much understood the role of a butcher compared to us. That's why he picked up that example. In today's world, if we are to talk about Dhatu Manasikara, we may pick up another decent example. This is one very good thing to learn, right? So in the same way, when we need to understand the sixth Satipatthāna exercise, Navasivathikapabba, I want to caution you that this Satipatthana exercise needs to be understood in the proper sense. Rather than saying that we have to go and see a dead body, only by looking at the dead body, our raga will go down, our dosa will go down, our moha will go down. Then every time when you come up with raga, please run to a mortuary. Yeah? Run to a mortuary, then you will see the dead body and your raga will go down. Right? I mean, if you look at it that way, that is the easiest way. Right? I mean, if you look at it that way. Or maybe you need to go to a hospital on and off to see this, to see how people die in the ICU and all those places. Well, literally, we might see that kind of an idea, but the overall idea is not that, which was given by the Buddha with regard to Navasivathikapabba. That is why sometimes the literal meaning of the Pali words, Pali phrases need to be understood from the conceptual point of view. That is the very reason I put it. I put the translation in the way. Let me take a look here. Okay, this one. 9 contemplations on the body's return to nature. What is actually happening when we die? Somebody might bury us or cremate us. What is actually happening in reality? As a Dhamma niyama, what is normally happening to us? The elements are going back to their very nature, right?
Yes.
Correct? That's what's happening. I mean, people might not look at it. Oh, my uncle passed away, my aunt passed away, my XYZ people passed away, right? Yes, that is what is seen from outside. But in reality, what is happening is that the tangible body is going back to its default nature. The default nature is Patavi Apo Tejo Vayu nature. Right? Now, this also doesn't mean that when we are to look at that way, we will stop crying over someone's death. We will still look at it from an emotional attachment. But the very understanding with regard to Navasivatika has to be understood from a point that how this Panchakanda body goes back to its nature. I think we don't look at it that way, right? Definitely, when you have listened to any Dhamma sharings about Navasivathikapabba, you may not have understood in that way. It was always about a dead body, and we have to see a dead body, we have to see, and then we have to see what is happening, right? Then if by looking at the dead body we will go to Nibbana, then all the particular forensic doctors and those doctors who are doing those things, medical students, must have gone to Nibbana a bit earlier than all of us. Are they going to Nibbana like that? They are always touching the dead bodies. They are even doing some dissections of certain parts. Think about the forensic doctors. That their job is to, find out perhaps the cause of the death. Right? So then we have to, we should not look at this thing at the face value. When you look at it at the face value, then you will be thinking that, then the idea that the Buddha is telling us here is that to go look at a dead body. Of course, we don't have any chance in today's world to see a dead body and how it is being decomposed according to these 9 ways. Just forget about that, because that is not going to be usual for us unless you try to see something from online, right? Then, if that is not the thing, then we need to understand this from a very conceptual point of view. and then we will be able to look at it in a better way. Before we get into this, may I ask you whether you found out any stories, any Buddhist stories, where Buddha talk about dead bodies? It's pretty interesting, right? When you read about the Buddha's life story, and how did the Buddha engage with different people, what were you able to find out that any story, any situation where Buddha was trying to teach someone using a dead body?
Yeah, the courtesan, there's a courtesan, I think Sirima or what, her name.
Sirima.
She was so much wanted. A monk was so infatuated with her. So then, I cannot remember the full story.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
that's a story.
yeah,
Sirima was a lady,
yeah,
and there was a young monk who fell into a certain secret affection to her. And then what happened one day, Sirima passed away. And then the Buddha went to that place, and Buddha asked those people who were going to cremate her to stop cremating, and then asked that monk to come. And then he saw what was happening. And then by understanding, we don't know what really happened at that point, whether he was able to see 9 Navasivathika, or whether he was able to understand what happened as a part of anicca. Because we cannot demonize any person's body even they are dead with regard to somebody's enlightenment, right? That's something very interesting to understand, because we have to respect any dead body as we understand true metta. Perhaps what may have happened to the monk was that he was able to understand what must have happened to her, the person that he had some thoughts, and then what she met in her life at that point. It is the same thing with Santati, right? The Minister Santati. I think I shared this story sometime, long time. Who is Santati? That's a similar story, but it was not about a dead body, but it was something related to what was happening. Santati was a minister in the cabinet of King Kosala. What happened was King Kosala one day asked him to go to a certain state and then to take over the governance of that particular place. Maybe certain people, they were having some insurrections. So he successfully did that. Upon he came back, king asked, I would like to give you some specific, maybe boons, be it double oins. He said, okay, I would like to be with a certain lady in the harem, in the King Kosala's harem. And this is the person that I've been loving secretly, just like that monk was sitting. Okay, no problem. And then what happened? That day, he was very drunk. And then now he's going to see that lady. On that day, during that time, the Buddha, Venerable Ananda, and some other monks, they were going somewhere. And then, Buddha has a smile. That smile is not a normal smile. When he makes that smile, in Abhidhamma, it is called as Hasituppada Chitta. They have given a name for that. When Buddha smiles that way, that shows a specific karmic transformation about somebody. Then Venerable Ananda asks, why are you smiling? Then the Buddha told him, uh, this man who is going on the elephant, Santati, yes, he will become an enlightened person later today. Really? This man is drunk and he's going to see a lady in the harem. How is he going to become an enlightened person? Then the Buddha said nothing after that. What happened? Santati went to the place and Santati was talking to her. At a certain point, in front of Santati, she went through some health problem. She passed away. And Santati couldn't understand what happened to her all of a sudden. And that particular thing was what triggered Santati to come up with certain sansaric practices of his dharma practice. And then he was able to understand anicca at that point. And he became an enlightened person. Now, you don't have to take it wrongly. It means we can drink and we can do whatever the things later that day we all can become enlightened. That was a very specific incident, right? So I was trying to tell you that there are certain stories where Buddha wanted certain individuals to understand life through the body. But that was not a very usual scenario, right? But when we come back to Navasivathika, what we need to understand overall is that we can use this Satipatthana practice to properly understand what would happen to our body, what would happen to other people's body, thereby to diminish, to minimize our raga. Right? As lay people, minimizing raga. I think with regard to particular mansikara, I said lay people have two things that they can be benefited. One thing is to how to practice proper karma and how not to misbehave in karma. I think these are very important. Rather than if you are to wrongly understand that karma is wrong, that's for a Sangha member in that context, right? Okay, let's take a look at the text. It's a very long text, so I will only pick up the important parts just to leave more time for the discussion. Before that, can we once again have a certain idea about what is going back, or what does it mean by body goes back to its nature? Then body is a composite of
5 aggregates.
5 aggregates and 4 elements. Actually, when someone passed away, 5 aggregate will be disintegrated, right?
Yes.
There are no more 5 aggregates at that point. Then Rupa only exists. Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, they cannot exist in that body because consciousness has left the body. So now we are talking about the physical body, which has no consciousness. Then at that point, how can we discuss about this thing? What can we discuss about a body that is dead, where there are no 4 kanda? What is the yardstick that we can use to define that body? Now, when someone passed away, you are still thinking the person is inside the body. Why did you leave us? Right? That's our way of talking to the body, right? You should have lived with us. Now, who is going to support us? Who is going to take care of me now? Like, this is what people are doing, no? That is emotionally happening. I'm not saying that is wrong, because that's what happens to everybody. But actually, when someone passed away, there is a mere physical body which doesn't have sanya, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. So what happened to his or her Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana? Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana were exhausted, and that main consciousness left into another body. Now, as a result of that main consciousness with the new body, there are new feelings that are arising. There are new sankaras that are arising. And the karmas that were in that body also now switch to the other body. And then what do you call, Vijnana is there, basic main Vijnana. And because of the main Vijnana, there are other Vijnanas that I have. Now I have a question for you. If most of the things are karmas, if our body is karma, definitely our body is karma. You cannot say our body is not karma. Our looks, our skin color, our health, for the most part, most of the bodily parts are coming from karma. Then when you passed away, or when someone passed away, right? And you can say until that person passed away, you normally call, yes, you are going through karma, even you died because of a karma, right? You can say that. But can you relate karma to a dead body? Now the body is dead. Vijnana has gone out to another body. Now Rupa is only there. Can you still say that body is going through karma any longer?
The rebirth relinking consciousness is taking another rebirth.
No, I'm not asking his samsaric journey. I'm asking what will happen to that person when that person left. Actually, what is happening? That person left the body. Now already going to another body. I'm asking that previous, the
If they
dead
go
body.
back to the four elements,
no karma already.
That's a very interesting notion to think about. But
No
there's a problem. When some people die, their relatives are not doing their funeral activities very well, right? Maybe they are bringing it to a certain minor level of funeral arrangement. And we understand the person died and reborn somewhere. If you are believing uh, basic Buddhism, we understand instantly we are reborn. If you believe in Theravada tradition, they are saying 7 days. Some are having cultural notions. That's why 7 days there is a dana. Some people believe that way, but that is not the early Buddhist way. And if you know Tibet Buddhism, how soon can a person be reborn? In Tibet Vajrayana Buddhism, if you know Vajrayana Buddhism, they are saying 49 days.
9 days.
They call it as a Bardo stage. B-A-R-D-O. They say when someone passed away, that person go here and there for 49 days. Only after 49 days, that person can be reborn in the new. Regardless of all these things, we need to also understand how to understand the dead body. Now, the person has left. The body has no karma, but the person who owned the body at that point, before he or she passed away, had created a vast amount of karma by creating human relationships and so forth. So that's why even some people passed away, their relatives are respecting and then making a lot of things to that dead body, right? You know, some funerals are very grand funerals, right? Aren't they? And when some people passed away, even some people don't, even many don't understand what happened to that person. So that means even though the person's Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana don't exist in that body anymore, it is just a normal Rupa Kanda. It is also not a very full Rupa Kanda because now Rupa Kanda is going back to nature. Still, karmic imprints can be seen in that. But not that person has karma at this point for the body, but what he made before he passed away. Now, we are looking at that dead body now, which has no Vedana, no feeling, no perception, no mental formations, karma, no Vijnana. Then, may I know what does the dead body have at this point? Let's say someone passed away right now. What does that dead body have? Rupa Kanda, only Rupa Kanda. In the Rupa Kanda, how can we separate out the composites inside, ingredients. Patavi, Apo, Tejo. Vayu has a problem. Where is his Vayu? No breathing anymore. Right? Vayu has a problem now. Normally people translate this to be his last breath happened at 5:08 p.m. Then he passed away. No breath anymore. But how do we understand the immediate situation? Somebody ate something. Somebody ate something. And then while eating, the person passed away. Are the food going to be digested or not? Huh? How do we make that over there?
Cannot be.
That could be a problem. So that means Vayu has a bit of issue when someone passed away. And Tejo, is there any temperature going on when somebody passed away?
No, the
Yes,
body is
No.
cold.
still there's
Yes,
a
yes.
temperature.
More heat.
The
Yes.
temperature is the last to
Temperature is going back to
decrease.
bit of coldness, but we know when somebody passed away, body becomes cold,
Cold.
right? That is what is. But there is a certain immediate kind of temperature, but that temperature is very quickly going down to make that person's body very cold. That is one way some other people understand somebody already passed away. Then only Pataviyapu work, right? Isn't it? Now in this way, when we try to define a dead body, the main visible, perhaps substantial elements of a dead body could be Patavi and Apu. That's what. And those are the two things which the Buddha talks in the Navasivathikapabba. So Patavi means solid elements, and then Apu means liquid elements. So with this in mind, now we will go and take a look at these 9. The first thing that can happen to a dead body is Uddumataka, swollenness. Okay. And the second thing that can happen to a dead body is, please go by the decimal points, 161, 162 there. Next one, Vinilaka, discoloration, right? Discolored body. 163 means the third Sivatika. Vipubbaka Jata, festering. Now, how do we understand all these changes? We think that there was a dead body cast, thrown on a certain symmetry, but this is not what is happening. But if it is happening, then we will look at it this way. And then the fourth thing that can happen to dead bodies, kakehi. There are many other animals here. Right. Kakehi wa kajjamana. Right. So devoured by birds and animals. And 165, the fifth one, Attika Sankalikam Samma Salovita, skeleton with flesh and blood, still bound by sinews. That's the fifth Sivatika. And the sixth one, Attika Sankalikam. Apagata Mansalovitang, skeleton without flesh and blood, sinews still holding bones. And the seventh Sivatika, Attikani Apagata Sambandha, disjointed bones, scattered in different directions. 8 Sivatika, Attikani Setani Sanka Vannu Panibani, white bones bleached like a conch shell. Last one, Attikani Putini Chunnaka Jatani, rotten bones turned to powder completely. disintegrated. These are the Sivathika's, right? Now we will go back. Let us see how, let's take one Sivathika and see how does it look like. Punacha param bhikkhave bhikkhu seyyatapi passeyya sarirang Sivatikaya chadditang ekahamatang va dvihamatang va tihamatang va uddukamatang uddumatakang vinilakang vipubbaka jatang so imameva kayang upasanharati ayampiko kayo evam dhammo evam bhavi evam anatitoti. Translation word to word. Again, further beyond that, a monk, just as if should see a body in a charnel ground, discarded, thrown away, 1 day dead, or maybe 2 day dead, 3 days dead, swollen, bluish, festering, discharging with pus. He or she, this very body, applies this also indeed body. There are 3 things that someone can do with regard to understanding the nature of the body and how it goes back to the nature. One is evam dhammo. This is the nature of all our bodies. This is the nature. And second, the second thing to understand with regard to any Sivatika is evam bhavi. This is what is happening to my body even one day. Even I will be cremated or buried. And third one, eva manatito. I will not exceed this thing. Right? What's the Pali word that the person is supposed to go through with regard to this understanding? Upasangharati. Again, monks, as to he or she were to see a body discarded in a charnel ground, 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days dead, swollen, blue, festering, a monk reflects upon this very body. This body too is of the same nature. This body means our bodies, same nature, has the same condition and cannot escape this state of situation, right? So, if we look at it from a contemplation of the body's return to nature, then we understand that the first stage is that swollenness, right? How to understand this part in today's world? We might not go see it, but when we understand that suppose our bodies will become as such at a certain point, that will help us diminish our unnecessary raga. What will actually go away when we think about the Navasivathika? I mean, as a way of looking at these Navasivathikas. Will our raga go away? Will our dosa go away by looking at these things? Our raga will go away. But sometimes when we are not happy with our bodies, and when you are so much jealous about others' bodies, what could you generate at that point? Dosa, right? You are jealous about somebody, maybe about the beauty or any other thing. At that point, even by being able to understand the nature of the body can help us diminish, maybe reduce our raga, right? We actually, on the other hand, I want to say that this particular Satipatthana was not recommended to all monks and nuns. Even lay people were not actually recommended in the larger, broader sense. This was only recommended to certain Sangha members at that time. Why? They had lots of excessive, obsessive, addicted raga. If there is a layperson like that, there is no harm in understanding this way too. But there are some who have lots of maybe I would say excessive unmanageable level of karma. I think when we understand that point, then it will go down. It is not even liking somebody. I think when we are able to understand the nature of the body, that will also help us reduce unnecessary habits that we are doing. Even moderation of eating. Thinking about what is happening to a body. Is this the body that we are maintaining by eating and drinking, right? So it is not even minimizing or reducing our raga. It is also helpful to reduce unnecessary addictions that we have with regard to the body, right? So Navasivathika or Patikula Manasikara, they are not even helpful to take care of our unnecessary raga part, last part, but also unnecessary habits that we are drawn into due to our misunderstanding of the body. So the first one is swollen nature of a dead body, right? So we need to hypothesize the way how it can happen to anybody. I think because I mentioned about the names, can we go down to the notes? Because you can read all that later. Before that, I want to tell you some other things. Remember this part. Iti ajjattang va kai kayanupassi viharati. Samudaya dhammanu passiva part. Then what do you call? Attik hayoti panasa sati. Evampiko bhikkhave bhikkhu kai kayanupassi. We have been discussing this section at the end of all Satipaṭṭhānas, right? Aren't we? We have discussed, right? We were discussing that at the end of every Kayanupassana Satipaṭṭhāna, and not even Kayanupassana Satipaṭṭhānas, even for the future Satipaṭṭhāna practices, Buddha has given us a certain methodology to carry on the Satipaṭṭhāna practice. Now, when we discuss about Anapanasati practice, at the end of the practice, Buddha said that we need to practice Anapanasati internally, externally, both internally and externally. Then, in the way how the breath is originated, in the way how the breath was not originated, and then with regard to mindfulness, and with regard to not associating with the Panchakanda. So the same section has to be added to all the other Satipaṭṭhānas, even to this Navasivathika. So how do we understand that with regard to Navasivathika? Navasivathika carries a very important thing with regard to this section. Normally, in other Kayanupassana Satipaṭṭhānas, the Buddha has only given that section at the end to all the particular practice. But when it comes to Navasivathika, at the end of each stage of Sivathika, first Sivathika, second Sivathika, third, fourth, up to 9, Buddha has separately given that particular section. That means now we discuss about Uddumataka section. That means body is swollen. Dead body can be swollen. And then by being able to understand this very nature is common to all of us, then the Buddha is asking us to think it internally. Internally means this can happen to me anytime. And externally, this is the same thing that will be happening to everyone else, and both oneself and other people. And then Samudaya Vaya Dhamma. May I know how does Samudaya Vaya Dhamma work with regard to one of the Sivatika practice? Let's take Uddumataka practice. How can it work? How to understand Samudaya samudaya way of practicing the first Sivatika. Samudaya means to being able to look at the origin of this dead body. If there was not a living human being before this person passed away, right? If there was not a body, then there would have not had a dead body, right? In order to see a dead body, there should have a certain living being who must have lived in that body. Because there was a human or any other sentient being, that is why we can notice that there is a dead body. Samudaya, Vaya, Samudaya, Vaya. So this way, we are supposed to understand that very important section, internal, external, origination and cessation, both origination and cessation, and the rest of the things with regard to all these Navasivatika practice, right? Now you might be wondering at which point should I practice this Navasivatika. I don't think that you are obliged to practice this Navasivatika, because we are learning Navasivatika because it is coming under the SatipaṭṭhānaSutta. For you can practice Anapanasati, Riyapata, those practices. This is not mandatory, but because this is mentioning in the sutta, we are learning it, right? Otherwise, you might be thinking how to practice this tomorrow, right? You are not supposed to practice it that way, because Buddha was giving this particular meditation to those people who had a hard time in calming down their sensual pleasures, right? But let us learn, sometimes we don't want to practice certain parts. We don't have to, but we have to learn, because learning will help us understanding about people who are with us who cannot control their karmas. That's a good thing. Sometimes I don't have a problem, but the friend that I know has a problem, then I may not be able to understand that person's situation because I don't know about Navasivatika. At least if you know what is Navasivatika, if you have a friend who might be sharing with you, I have a problem, I cannot calm myself, I have unnecessary levels of calmness, then you can suggest. Maybe you can find a teacher and you can learn Navasivatika, maybe particular Manasika. So that is the way how we need to understand who needs Navasivatika. And going forward, please read the rest. Because of the timing, we were not able to read all this. We are going on to the notes now. This point, the notes. Right. After the Navasivatika sections. Right. Okay, so over here. Notes. Okay. Uddumataka. Let's go back to the 9 parts here, right? Properly given. Uddumataka. Uddumataka means once again swollen body. This stage represents the undeniable truth of physical impermanence. The body that once appeared attractive is now swollen and decaying. For lay people, this is not to provoke disgust, but to awaken wise humility. Things like beauty fades, youth passes, and what we cling to changes. Reflecting on this, we learn to value inner virtue more than outer appearance, living with authenticity and care rather than vanity. Does this mean that beauty is not important to all of us? Is beauty important to all of you? Or did the Buddha say that beauty beauty is important in some other suttas. Is being able to be reborn with a beauty important to all of you? Yes.
Yes.
Did the Buddha mention about it? A revision question from a previous sutta. It's a very good time to ask this question. Where did the Buddha say being able to be reborn with a pleasant, beautiful physical body is a karma? What
Are
was the
you,
sutta?
are you Vano Sukang Balang? The Vana, if you give?
I'm asking the sutta we discuss.
Oh, Sutta.
We discuss about it
Is it
in a
is
previous.
it Patakama Sutta, Bhante?
No, Pattakama Sutta is about financial management, right? What was the sutta we discussed before Satipatthana Sutta?
Dika Janu.
Dika.
Jano Sutta.
So what
Dika
was the sutta we discussed
Janu
before
Sutta.
Dikajana Sutta?
Dika Jano Sutta.
Before Dikajana Sutta?
Tunda Sutta,
Chula
Bhante?
Kama Vibhanga
Oh,
Sutta,
Chulakama.
right? Did the Buddha mention about beauty in that sutta?
Yes,
If
yes.
so, how did he discuss this?
Don't get angry. Loving kindness, so you born beauty in the next life. Bhante.
Buddha specifically mentioned to Subba that some people, actually Subba is asking the question from the Buddha. He's asking, Bhante, why some people are very pleasant, very charming, very beautiful, why others are not? And then Buddha said, it is because those people who have had uncontrollable anger, who could not uh, who could not take care of their anger at the same time, who were not able to take care of their anger, then will be reborn as individuals who will not be very pleasant to others. Now we don't have to look at each other, right? We are valuing our beauties. But the Buddha said, if you become angry, you will be reborn, not in a pleasant way. So what is the key to be reborn with a pleasant, very charming looks? To know your own anger is the best way. Now a lot of people are saying, I want to control my anger. You don't have to control it. Know how your anger is arising. Buddhism is asking us to know the attitude, right? Otherwise, every time when we are getting angry, we will have to run to the temple. We will have to run to find the chanting book. Ask a question from a person who can answer that. No? Those are not going to work out all the time. Then the damage will have happened. Right? That's why the Buddha said, don't blame the anger. Anger is a natural part of us. Lobha is a natural part of us. Believe that. Accept it. But the most important thing is, watch how is your anger arising. Then you know that you need to stop it. A lot of people, they don't look at it. They let the anger come and then they find out, okay, Metta, please come to me. Please come and take care of me. Metta cannot do it to you at that point because you cannot understand how does your anger arise. Same thing happened to Raga. Now look at look at this Navasivathika example. And someone is always thinking, okay, every time I think about a dead body, my Raga will go down. And someone is going to be so much with Raga. Oh, dead body, please come to me. So my Raga will go down. It's going to be really funny and then it's not going to work. So the Buddha said, through Navasivathika particular manasikara, try to develop a certain understanding about karma. Then whoever you're going to see in your life, whatever the comfort that you will be seeing, you will not be shaken by any of those things. You have a very good discipline in your life. Right? So then in the Chulakamibhanga Sutta, Buddha said, if you know your anger, then you will know what to do with that anger. Then you will be more. So that means Buddha never, uh, what do you call, uh, said anything wrong about the beauty. Beauty is important, right? But we need to understand how does beauty, how does someone obtain the beauty, and what could be the better attitude with regard to beauty. So when it comes to Uddumataka, one can understand, see what is happening to this particular person. You know, when someone passed away, there's a funeral, what do you call? Funeral banner, right? Poster. They always use an old photo of that person, right? As Buddhists, we have to ask them, use a young photo of that person. Then everybody will go see the dead body and say, oh, what kind of beautiful person ended up in the coffin. That's a good idea. In Sri Lanka, people are so mad. Some people, they even put a very big banner in front of the cemetery. The cruel Mara took our man, our person. They even very angry with regard to Mara, right? They put a very big banner in the cemetery. You know, they are putting some banners in white color. In one banner, this is a very famous saying, the cruel Mara has worked on our relative. Have to be angry with the Mara. You know, we know this is happening to all of us, right? So it's very important for us to then understand that part. And when it comes to Uttumataka, then what we need to know is that this will be the same thing that can happen to all of us. And that understanding will help us to have a better idea with regard to our karma. Then the second Sivatika that we can use is Vinilaka. Nilaka means blue color, the discolored body. Here the transformation deepens, the glow of life gives way to lifeless hues. This reminds us how all external charm and social recognition are fleeting, right? Perhaps this could be a way at that time to see the beautiful color of somebody. You know, there were certain people who had beautiful colors during the Buddha's time. There was a monk called Kachayan, Arahant Kachayan. His skin color was gold color, right? It was the gold color. So perhaps during that time, people had obsessions with regard to skin color, higher than today. So maybe that is why the second Sivatika is given as being able to look at the color of the dead body, blue color, and then to compare with the person who has a better living color. And Vipubbaka, this marks the active decomposition. The bacteria that once aided digestion within the living body now begin to break down tissues from within, producing gases, fluids. The skin ruptures, microbes, enzymes, insects accelerate the transformation of organic matter. So I think if you have one way to look at it is, one way to look at Navasivathika is have a certain scientific knowledge about the body's disintegration. You don't have to be a scientist. Have a basic scientific knowledge about what is happening to the body. Not to take it only from a spiritual background. So, because now we only have the Rupakanda. Rupakanda is changing. When we want to understand Rupakanda, it's good to look at it from some elementary background. So now we understand decomposition now starts. And Vikadita, if the body was discarded in the place, then it can be eaten by animals and other things, right? Attika Sankalikam, the skeleton with flesh and blood. Now the decomposition even has gone to other section. So it is happening. It keeps happening. And finally, what will happen is that at the end, you can see the bones finally decay into powder and dust, blending completely with the earth. That means during the Buddha's time, when a dead body was thrown onto the charnel ground, nobody is going back again to see what is happening, right? It was permanently thrown away. Perhaps that was the way how they wanted dead bodies to be placed, dead bodies to be disintegrated. Now I have a question at this point. Was there an idea or maybe a practice during the Buddha's time that monks and nuns, when they want to have robes, I think we are in the Katina season, I think we're almost finished, especially when monks and nuns wanted to make robes, there was a certain provision by the Buddha that you can do it by going into a cemetery and then to take those clothings that were used to wrap a dead person, right? And then monks and nuns went to those cemetery and then grabbed those clothings and then brought back to the temple, wash those clothings, and then dye the clothings and made them a robe. Because at that time, devotees were not offering robes. That was not the custom at that time. So Sangha members had to find their own clothing. One reason that might be behind this attitude was Buddha wanted monks to think about, like as lay people, you might have some attachments to your clothing, right? Do you? You may have, I bought it from XYZ branded shop. It was XYZ amount of money, that was so expensive. So I have to use it for wedding. I use for reunion, for New Year, Chinese New Year is coming up, right? New Year, and for that thing, right? You may have certain emotional attachments towards your clothing as well. But for the Sangha members during that time, when they were thinking, oh, where did you get this? Oh, from the cemetery. I wash it. I mean, what kind of attachment will be having at that point? Perhaps this could be the reason why did the Buddha say as such. But there was a problem in that provision. Even the Buddha said, if you like, you can do, but I'm not making it mandatory. So what happened? Certain monks only went there and then collected those clothings. May I know one of the names of that kind of a Sangha member who went to the cemetery and who collected those clothings and then wash and dye and made it a robe and started wearing? Can you remember one very particular Sangha member who did that?
Forgot, Bhante.
Ah,
I forgot already. I have heard of the name, but
Because
we never.
while teaching Satipatthana or whatever the sutta, I would like to share with you some Buddhist stories, real stories. Then you know the life of the Buddha too, right? Otherwise, it can become a little bit boring, all these things. So it's interesting to know. Yeah, Venerable Mahakassapa.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
Venerable Mahakassapa wanted to practice something called Dutanga. May I write it over here? This is a Pali term, Dutanga. Now, Dutanga means some kind of coarse practices. They are bit coarse practices. They are not a little bit convenient practices sometimes. What are those Dutanga practices? One of the Dutanga practices is to go to the cemetery and collect the dead person's not dead person's clothing, the clothing that were used to wrap the dead body and then to make it a robe later on. Second, going to stay in a cemetery. Sometimes some monks were sent to the cemetery and then to meditate, right? Who would like to go to a cemetery? I mean, that is little, scary for many people, right? And then the Buddha, according to certain teachings, it is said that monks who are staying in the cemeteries for meditation should not eat food made from wheat flour. that can be dangerous for them to practice meditation with some of the non-humans attacks in those places, right? And then another Dutanga could be to eat once a day. If you have seen a Sangha member who eats once a day, that is a Dutanga, not a normal practice. Huh? And what else? A Sangha member who wants to stay in the forest, doesn't want to come to the city and then to participate in devotees activities, we call it as a Dutanga, right? So if you want to be if someone wants to be a forest monk, they should be there, right? They can't do a double life, I mean, come to the city and then go back. That is a Dutanga. You must stay in the forest, right? So this way, one of the Dutanga practices comes into this topic now, because the Dutanga practice, which is called by using the clothings that were used to wrap a dead body, can be used to make a robe. Anyways, what we need to understand is that this could be a way to overcome certain clinging tanha towards other karmas too, not even for the people. All right, after this, in the last couple of 10 to 15 minutes, we will go to a conclusion here. 9 contemplations on the body's return to nature. The Navasivathika, the 9 contemplations on the body's return to nature, trace the body's gradual return to its elemental origins. Now here we can say, actually before a dead body is discarded, Vayo and Tejo must have gone in certain ways, as we discussed earlier. So Patavi and Apo could be still happening. I think when we discuss about this topic, another area to discuss is death in Buddhism. That's a very complicated point in medicine as well. Because at which point does someone die, right? Now think about when somebody passed away, when somebody is to pass away through the stopping of the heart, still certain organs of the body are still working in certain ways, right? Maybe certain parts of the body. That is why it is said that when someone passed away, certain bodily parts can be taken for somebody within certain hours, right? I think eyes, even some other parts. So someone's brain may be dead, someone's heart may be stopped, right? And someone may be dead with the stoppage of the heart. And even after that, certain bodily parts can grow, right? It might be a little difficult to make a very specific thing, but Buddhism says that when someone's heart is going to be stopped permanently, that could be the death that the Buddhism is talking about. So, but what is happening is that since the moment of the death, elements are start going back to their nature. Patavi elements go to Patavi elements. Apo elements go to Apo elements. Tejo elements already somewhat go to the Tejo element, temperature, and Vayo elements go back to the Vayo element. So I think rather than we are dying, what is to understand that when we die, our body goes back to its nature. I think it's a little comfortable way to understand the body. And then, from the moment life ceases, the body enters the gentle custody of the elements. In the first 3 stages, those Sivatika stages, biological processes quietly take over. Gases expand, colors change, decomposition begins. What was once vibrant becomes a canvas for impermanence. Anicca, Uddumataka, Vinilaka, Vibhupakajata stages show that life and decay are not opposites, but complementary phases in a single continuum of becoming. Then, By the fourth and fifth stages of Sivatika, the body becomes nourishment for others. Birds, animals, microbes complete what the elements began. The skeleton appears first with flesh, then without, signifying the passage from the organic to the mineral. Here we glimpse ecological interdependence, the silent dharma of the forest floor. Nothing truly dies, everything transforms and serves another form of life with the changes. The 6 and 7 stages bring fragmentation and scattering. The body's structure collapses, bones fall apart, carried by wind, rain, time. Identity dissolves into anonymity. Just as our attachments fragment at death, so too the physical form disperses into the vastness of nature. The illusion of permanence is tenderly undone. So this way we can see, finally, in the 8 and 9 stages, whitened bones. Bones also became whitened, fade into dust, pure calcium and carbon return into the soil. What once claimed individuality, what we call person, sakkaya, becomes elements once more. This is not destruction, but completion. That's the interesting thing to look at. This is not actually destruction, but the completion of the elements. Elements go back to their very nature. For us, it is a destruction because the person is not anymore living with the 5 aggregates. But for the nature, it is the completion. The perfect circle of giving back. For the contemplative mind, these 9 images, I would say, Sivatikas, are not morbid, but liberating. I think for many of the people, they think when they look at these 9, oh, very morbid, very dirty stuff. I don't want to hear about these things. But if you look at it from the nature, they are not morbid stuff. They are things that we need to bring into our understanding about the nature of the body in a beautiful way. They awaken insight into anicca, anatta, dukkha. Each body, regardless of beauty, strength, and social worth, obeys this same natural law. Seeing this deeply loosens the fetters of pride, craving, fear. For lay practitioners, the 9 contemplations on the body's return to nature invite a return to ecological mindfulness, a recognition that our bodies belong not to us, but to the earth, the air, and the countless lives that sustain us. Every breath is borrowed, every heartbeat a rhythm within nature's vast symphony. To contemplate the body's return to nature, therefore, is to remember our rightful place within the living web, to live gently, consume mindfully, love without clinging, and die without regret. I think there are a lot of things that are related to this idea. Now, even when you look at here, what is helping us at the end is that to understand the very nature of those elements, right? If we can develop more understanding about elements, actually we discussed them as dhatu last Friday, then that understanding will help us having a better picture about our bodies. So that is what we were discussing today. I think now we can have some time for any questions if you got. If you have a question, please raise your virtual hand. All right, so we got questions under the chat. Buddha kneeled down to pay homage to a pile of skeletons, saying that it could have been his mother in a past life. Barbara, where is the reference to this?
I don't know. I read it somewhere some time ago, and it really was in my mind to ask.
Well, I haven't found
He
out
was
something like
walking.
this. Of course, the Buddha might not have done that because he knows that skeletons are made of Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu. Perhaps he might have referred to something. He might have
He
referred
was walking.
to skeletons.
He was walking with a group of disciples. Along the road, he saw a pile of skeleton. That's what I read about. Uh,
Well,
and
what could have happened is
actually,
that because he had used skeletons, atti, to give us an idea about how many lifetimes we have been reborn. We have died and we have been reborn. Uh, there were some of the suttas where Buddha talks about the time. Then he was referring to Vebar, Vepul, rocks and asking people to look at it. Then the Buddha was referring to the number of lives we were reborn, and he was saying, you see how tall is this mountain? Actually, Vebar, these mountains were Himalaya mountains, like Rocky Mountains, Rocky Mountain Range, and Alp Mountain Range has different other subsidy mountains. So these mountains are very tall mountains. And the Buddha said, can you think about how high is the mountain? And then they were having some ideas. At that point, the Buddha was saying, what do you think? Which one is taller when you can find out your bones in previous lives, the number of lives you have lived so far, and you make it a pile, and then you compare it to the Himalaya range mountains. Which one is higher? Then the monk said, we have no idea. The Buddha is saying, your bone mountain is much, much, much taller than all these mountains. Then think about
yes,
how many lives we have been reborn. We have died, we have been reborn.
yes.
But the only thing is our utter ignorance about what had happened to us. That is the only benefit that we have. Otherwise, if we had to know all that, we will definitely exceed the number of all these things. That means leaving the tradition of leaving our bones is not a very new thing to all of us, okay? We are leaving a lot of bones to other people, right? In the past. So that is what we understand. All right. And then, yes, Jessica, are there any suttas defining the death of a human being? Death, stoppage of heart, instead of brain death in Western medical definition. Any suttas defining the moment of rebirth? There are some suttas actually. Now think about, actually, those suttas are not telling why the person died. Now think about Anathapindika, how he passed away, and how did King Suddhodana pass away. They passed away. There are no mention about that the death happened because of a heart problem. Of course, the brain is not that much mentioned. Even the brain is not mentioned in SatipaṭṭhānaSutta, right? The Mattalunga part. But if you ask any sutta that is defining the moment of rebirth, I could tell you certain stories, especially Anathapindikavada Sutta is one. Then what else? The story about Dhammika Upasaka. That's a very good story. Can you remember that story? Very interesting story. That's a story we discussed in our OPRC class long time ago, Dhammapada. Dhammika Upasaka was a very devout Upasaka to the temple, Jetavana. And one day he was going to pass away, and his daughters all understood that he's going to pass away. So he invited Sangha members come to the house. And then the Sangha members started chanting SatipaṭṭhānaSutta. At that time, when someone was going to pass away, the practice was to chant SatipaṭṭhānaSutta. Why is it? It is because it's very important to be mindful at the time of the death. Where some people wrongly understand how happy if I can die by the morning in the sleep. That is not a good idea. I mean, you can't stop certain things because you are not conscious about your death. A very ideal death could be a death that someone is going through by being conscious of the death. That's why the Sangha members were chanting SatipatṭhānaSutta, the same sutta we were discussing today, part of it. And then what happened? Halfway of the chanting, Dhammika said something. He said, stop. The unenlightened Sangha members thought, he must be very tired now. That's why he said stop. So we will stop the chanting. We will go back to the temple. So then the monks told the relatives, his daughters, that we will go to the temple because your father needs some rest. After a while, father came back to normal and he asked, so where are the Sangha members? He said, Father, you told them to stop. So they went back to the temple. Then he said, no, I didn't ask them to stop. While I was listening to the chanting, certain devas from different heavens came with certain garlands. They want to put the garland around my neck. I said, stop it. I still want to make good karma. And then I will decide which garland I would like to choose, So that's what I said. And then after that, he passed away. So this is a very interesting sutta about the moment of the death. So that's why Buddhism says 3 things matter when someone is going to die. Number 1, karma. Number 2, karma nimitta. Number 3, gati nimitta. That means karma means the particular karma that person is going through at that point. Second, karma nimitta means a symbol of karma. Normally it is said when someone is going to pass away, a particular symbol will appear to that person. The symbol is, think about someone who has been doing wrong things. Think about a gossiper who is always gossiping. When you keep gossiping with other people, you will harm everybody at the end because you don't have anything to share. You gossip and keep gossiping. What if that gossiping thing will come to you at the moment of your death? Then karma is gossiping. Karma nimitta is a particular important activity with regard to that gossiping. And you will come to a point, that day I said that particular gossip, and because of that particular gossip, 2 people got into an argument and then they were into a clash and they had problem, right? And then if you take it in the good way, I did a very good karma. I was listening to Dhamma, I was practicing, and on one particular day, I did that particular activity with regard to that practice, right? Maybe I was offering dana, and what did I offer for the dana? That's a karma nimitta. Third one is gati nimitta. Gati nimitta means it is said in Buddhism that most of us, maybe all of us, it is said that we know where we are going to be reborn. But unfortunately, most of us cannot tell it to somebody. But there was somebody told that. Who was that person? Dhammika Upasaka. He told his daughters that I am going to be reborn in a heaven, right? So these 3 things have to happen during the day. So the answer to your question is that there are a couple of suttas where we know certain experience about some people when they were going to die. And then what happened was that if you ask me how to define the moment of rebirth, is that then you will have to find out suttas like what could be a better rebirth, right? So what could be a better rebirth can be found out in a sutta like Metta and Sasa Sutta. The Buddha says that if you can practice Metta, you can concentrate, so you will be able to be reborn in a better place. Even many other suttas where Buddha talks about how to get a better rebirth. So that could be the answer. So there are so many suttas if we talk about that. So suttas where people were sharing things with the Buddha or other monks, and suttas where Buddha talk about a better rebirth, like Digajana, Pattakamma, Singaluvada, Mettanisansa, Anathapindikovada, and there are many suttas like that. Another question. Sometimes after one pass away and reborn as Peta, the Peta linger around the old body, material belongings, the family, loved ones. Does this mean the Peta still has Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vinyana? No, Peta has all that in his new life, but he has gone, he is associating, he is relating to the body, but that body has no Sanya, Sankara, Vinyana, Vedana, old body. But Peta is a new life. But Peta is relating to that body. It can happen. It doesn't mean the old body has Panchakanda again. Perhaps the person who passed away and was reborn as a Peta has more clinging to go back to the house, right? But that old body cannot carry those things. That's why he or she became a Peta. Peta has his own Panchakanda in the new life, depending on the Peta life. Could you explain on raga since I miss your trip? Oh, raga means lust in this point. That means excessive desires, excessive sensual pleasures, not the normal now. Right? The small children are very afraid of those 9 images of dead bodies. So how can we teach them? No, you don't have to teach this to children. Definitely not. I will not teach them, definitely, because we have so many good things to teach for them. Right? Even to other normal devotees. The reason why I was teaching this thing, because this is coming under the SatipaṭṭhānaSutta, so we will learn it in this way. But as a practice, I don't think that we have to teach this in the first place, because Anapanasati, Iriyapata, Sampajanya, Patikula Manasikara, Dhatu Manasikara, and so many practices that we are learning in the future, Vedana-Nupassana, Chitta-Nupassana, they are good enough. Not all practices are necessary for everybody, right? But because we are learning this sutta, we are learning this part. Just wondering, Bhante, about, although it is post-canonical, how does Hadeyavattu plays a role in our... Hadeyavattu is a Abhidhamma teaching, Theravada Abhidhamma teaching. That is an attempt, Theravada monks after the third council, Ashoka's time, wanted to locate the mind. They said mind lives in the Hadeyavattu. They said Hadeyavattu means a certain Hadeyavattu means the blood that is associating our heart. They said our mind lies around the blood that is going to the heart. Yes, so I think we don't have to worry about that. That is a certain conservative idea where, because Buddha is saying in Dhammapada, you cannot locate your mind. Durangamang ekacharang asarira, mind has no body. So how to locate the mind? But Theravada Abhidhamma connects that we found the mind somewhere, you know. Where is the mind now? It's around the blood that is going to the heart, pumping in and out. Finally, is there a similar text in the Pali Canon that is similar to Bardo, or this understanding is specific to what? I would say the cultural way of practicing Buddhism, like certain Theravada practice. If you go to Sri Lanka, they have a belief that when somebody passed away, you have to wait for 7 days to make a dana activity. Right? Actually, when someone passed away, you have to give the dana immediately because that person is gone from the body already. But because of our temple cultural activities, we are not going to do that. Maybe the temple has many danas, you know, you cannot borrow the dana dates, right? Maybe the devotee might not be happy to give that dana to sometimes, right? So because of our cultural way of running things, sometimes our metaphysical way of understanding Buddhism is a little bit challenging. My understanding is early Buddhism says once somebody passed away, that person needs good karma. Don't wait for 7 days. Never wait for 49 days. Huh? Don't wait for 7 days. Never wait for 49 days. So that is the point. The dead person will come back in different ways and then try to do unnecessary things, because that person is saying, how come you are not thinking about it? You are eating well, you are doing well, but you are not thinking about it. That's not nice, right? And he or she cannot go to other people. So better, I think the Theravada cultural practices in the Theravada can be the examples for this. Early Buddhism, we don't find the timeline. What does it imply when a dying person keeps seeing birds and monkeys? Well, we don't find certain symbols. What do you mean by seeing birds and monkeys? Literal seeing, or seeing in his or her own ways of seeing birds and monkeys?
Bhante, this person, this man is dying in the hospital, very serious. Doctor said maybe 1 to 2 days is dying, but he keep telling the wife that he see birds and monkey. So
Maybe the person must have seen a lot of birds and monkeys in his job, in his life. There are people who are doing wildlife jobs, right? That's why whatever we do for the most part of our day will come back to us when we die. That's why the Buddha said, have a mindfulness practice. So it will pop up during the time. Otherwise, you will see cars, ambulances, airplanes, airports, birds, mountains, your movies, all will come back to your mind.
is it the destination, rebirth destination? No,
No, we
no,
cannot say that.
cannot say that.
Yeah, I think this is for the most part what he may have seen every day. Because some people, they are hearing every day morning birds are chirping and all that. Maybe his job, maybe his hobby to see those things, right?
Okay,
Right.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Because the wife was my friend was asking whether I know any Bhante to ask this question, so I try to help her.
Yeah.
And then he's dying from late stage of cancer, and
Yeah.
doctor is giving
Maybe,
morphine.
yeah, maybe the wife can think about sharing with him what he had done in a good way to
Yes,
somebody.
I told her. Yeah, I told her to do that, to do some donation or buying flowers to offer in the monastery, everything to help him.
Not even that. Now we are talking what somebody can do on behalf of him or not. We are talking at this point when he's saying birds and monkeys, try to create a real-time conversation with him at that point, if what wife can do that, and ask her to remind him what are the good things, even 3, 4, 5, 6 good things he done in his life. Think about how good you did those things at that time. So then he will think about, oh, that is more curious for me at this point. So I think that is a good thing. On the other hand, she can go to a temple and do other things.
Thank you. Yeah, because I told the wife to tell him that whatever he have done, like for Katina, he do offering everything. Just tell him what he have done, all the meritorious deeds. Thank you so much, Bhante.
Last stop moment.
Yeah.
Death.
Yeah.
Can we make it short because we are going to finish off?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bhante. Thank you for answering.
Okay. All right. So to recap everything today, what I was trying to teach you today about Navasivathikapabba is that this is learning about another particular meditation, Satipatthana meditation for certain people. But it doesn't mean that there's nothing we can learn as adults. We can use them to understand the very nature of our life. But for teaching purposes, for common meditation people, I don't recommend right away because we have so many other Satipatthana practices we can use. All right. So may all the good karmas we be making today by learning about Navasivathika be transferred to all departed ones who passed away in the name of all of us. May they be well and happy. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita huntu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita huntu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita huntu nyatayo. Deva Naga Mahitika. May Deva Naga Mahitika receive all these good karmas. May they be well and happy. May they protect and bless all of us for good health, quality of life, prosperity, safety, happiness. And may they also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ettavata cha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabbasang patti siddhya. Ettavata cha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabbasang patti siddhya. Ettavata cha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabbasang patti siddhya. Akasattha cha bhummattha devanaga mahintika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu sasanang. Akasattha cha bhummattha devanaga mahintika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu sasanang. Akasattha cha bhummattha devanaga mahintika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhang tumang parang chirang rakhang tutam sadati. Dhammavish, our Dhammavish is to be surrounded with Kalyana Mittas, and at the same time to become Kalyana Mittas to as many individuals, sentient beings as we meet in our sansaric life till we attain Nibbana. Imina punya kammena mami bala samagamu satang samagamu hotu Yavanibbana Patya. Finally, may all the good karmas we be making today by learning about Navasivathika, 9 contemplations with regard to the body's going back to its nature, be supportive, helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Abhivadana siddhis nichang vaddha pachāino Chattaro dhamma vaddhanti ayuvanno sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti me viche ato nibbana sampatti iminati samichyatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. With those blessings, wishing you a pleasant good night and look forward to seeing you again on Friday, next Friday, for the Vedana section. We are starting the second Satipatthana section, the 7th or maybe couple practices for Friday. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Sadhu,
much, Bhante.
sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you,
Good night,
everyone.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night,
Thank you,
everyone.
Bhante.
Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
Everyone. Thank you, Bhante.